I'm Carlyle.
And I'm Heather, and welcome to Bless Your Heart.
Today we're going to be talking about Bloodlines, Bravo, and Biltmore.
And we wanted to just touch a little bit about us and why we decided to do this podcast. You know, Carla and I have known each other for 13 years, maybe more, and we have always had interesting conversations. And it can go from aliens to vampires to Bravo. And we thought that, everybody kept saying to us, you guys have the most interesting conversations. You should start a podcast. And it took us 3 years to finally say, let's do it. We kept seeing all these numbers, what we call angel numbers. And we kept seeing 222 and 555. And one time when when Carlisle came to Charleston, we went out to eat on Sullivan's Island and we wanted to walk the beach real quick before dinner. And neither one of us realized this a year ago, but the picture popped up on your feed the other day. And what station were we at, Carlisle?
We were at station 22 and a half on Sullivan's Island. And I feel like it was like 222 when I got the picture as well, which is like so crazy. Every time I pop my laptop open to start working on this, it's like 222 or 555. And I believe twos mean transformation, right?
Yep, you're on the right direction. Yep.
And fives mean like big change is coming. So, we've had some road bumps on the way to getting here. Like, I thought it was so easy to start a podcast. I just thought it was like, boom, start talking, podcast, you're ready to go. You're going to be out there for the millions, but it's a lot of work. So we are figuring it out. It's funny. I'm 35 and
I'm 39.
And Heather's 39. We're going on a big trip for her 40th. Can't wait for that. We're big travel enthusiasts. We love to go on vacation together. We're always talking and we're like, why not share our thoughts with the world? And so we went to Key West on a trip and we tried to start filming, and it was really hard because we we're just on vacation. So we got some good B-roll, and so we made some funny videos and we started learning a little bit more confidence of being in front of the camera. And then this past weekend we were in Charleston and we were supposed to film this podcast, but again, it feels a little bit like vacation, but we got some awesome B-roll. We did a lot of wandering around and talking about Charleston, and we're really like getting our feet wet. So though we didn't record the physical podcast, we were out pretty much all day Saturday. We met so many people. They were so hyped up. Tell them about like some of our experiences.
So it's crazy because, the devil always tries to stop us. It's crazy. Whether you believe it or not, we have had so many roadblocks just randomly happen to us. Like, we were downtown trying to film, and this bachelorette party. Charleston has 1,000 bachelorette parties every weekend. It's like Nashville. I mean, it's a great place, but they walked up right when we were recording and they took over all of our sound. They saw a dog they had to touch, love on. Anyway, things like that kept happening to us. So, we even got down, didn't we? And we said, you know what? We were sweating our asses off. And it is July in Charleston, so I would not come to Charleston July or August if you don't like 100-degree weather and humidity. But yeah, so we walked around downtown. Charleston's beautiful. It's very historic. And, we were trying to figure out what on earth is our first podcast going to talk. What was our first podcast going to be about? And we wanted it to be kind of light and fun. We both watch Bravo. It's kind of like our dirt TV, I call it. And then we started, going down the rabbit holes of vampires. And so we thought, let's make the first podcast about that.
Well, let's talk about how we got from Bravo to vampires. So we were talking about Bravo and like conspiracies, but then we were like texting back and forth and what can we talk about? There's this trend on TikTok where it's like, tell me your most unhinged Bravo theory. So we're like reading the comment section, we're sending screenshots back and forth to each other. And then I come upon in the thousands of comments that the comment, I had never thought about this, but it said that Whitney and Patricia from Southern Charm are vampires. And I was like,
What?
My mind was blown.
Never thought of this, ever.
Never
Never even crossed my mind.
Never thought about this. Maybe that's how they want it to be, but then I could not stop thinking about this. Out of like all of the unhinged Southern Charm theories, which there are some really unhinged theories,
Yes, there
but
are.
this one just like stuck out to me. And then so I'm like, go to my BFF ChatGPT, and I'm like, ChatGPT, is there any evidence that Patricia and Whitney from Southern Charm are vampires? And ChatGPT is like, I got you, girl. Let's dive into that conspiracy world. And it's like, fact number one, Patricia never films in direct light. Like, yeah, she films in daylight, but it's always shaded or she has an umbrella. Homegirl is not getting that skin in the sun. And, we could say that's anti-aging because good for you, Patricia. You
She
look
looks beautiful.
like
Yep,
$1 million, but that is point number two. Doesn't age. Point number three, she's like a character from The Great Gatsby. She does not belong in
100%.
this era. Her outfits, her demeanor, and then it's like the theory is like, what if it was already Patricia's home and she was just coming back to it, and they used the reality show to kind of live out their eccentric, crazy Charleston lives so they could be these characters and people wouldn't be like, what? Because to us, they are
For
characters.
sure.
They're not like
They
normal
are.
people. People in Charleston aren't like that.
No, they're not at all, actually. There's not a lot of people that wear black in summertime.
I mean, but, no, but like no one's in are there people in their gowns in their bed, like drinking their martini like it's the 1920s Great Gatsby?
Yeah, with a butler that went to school to be a butler. I mean, gosh,
Oh my
that's
gosh,
crazy.
which brings us to Michael. There is this show called What We Do in the Shadows. And in the show, they have what they call a familiar, which is their human that is kind of spellbound to them under hypnosis, or like they want to become a vampire. So they do all the human bidding deeds for the vampires that they can't themselves do. But they're like fiercely loyal, and like it
Makes sense.
think of Michael so much. Like what a wonderful human, but he totally could have been spellbound to Patricia because man, loyal and great, like carefree, like didn't mind. And he's just like Guillermo from What We Do in the Shadows, like a better version of Guillermo.
Yeah.
So there's just all this evidence. And what did you think about it when I brought it up?
I thought it was so interesting, especially when we posted like a short clip of it. One of the comments somebody wrote was said, dig into her husbands or, her past husbands. And it leads you to what, DC, which DC's a whole episode in of itself. I mean, it is the United States. DC by itself is. But the things that go on in DC make you wonder. And it kind of makes sense why she would have lived there, but she also married who? Secondly, it was finance.
Yeah, her first husband was in DC and he worked for Dun and Bradstreet, which is the
That's
credit
right.
financiers. But she'll oddly, when she talks about him in interviews, refers to him as a doctor. I'm not sure like medical doctor or what sort, but she tries to pass him off as this doctor figure, but really
Yeah.
he was an executive in Bradstreet. And then her second husband was like some billionaire financier from New York, which introduced Whitney to like, so he had the DC circles, New York circles, and then he went to university in DC, boarding school in DC, and then he went to Oxford, and then he finished up at some school in France. France, you have to put
France.
France in there
Mhm.
to you gotta sway. I could see Whitney and his little what are those hats called?
Oh, what are they? A fedora? No,
A beret.
a
Whitney
beret.
little
Sorry.
beret. His little beret in Paris. But what if that was really like vampire finishing
Vampire.
school?
Yeah.
Saying that because they said there's only two ways to become a vampire. Either you're turned like you're turned to by a vampire and then you
Or you're
consume
born.
blood and then you become a vampire that way, or you're born into it. And like vampire talk says that like vampire Hollywood has led us to believe that vampires can't go out in the sunlight, they can't see
In
themselves in the mirror, they
mirror.
can't have garlic, You can kill them with holy water, but apparently all of that is just like smoke
Not true.
mirrors, and they actually
Yeah.
garlic in their like blood, and blood is actually just used as like longevity. The vampires don't live
Mhm.
forever, they just live a very long time, and that would make sense because Patricia aging like a fine wine.
In the house they live in, there's not many homes in Charleston that look like her house. I mean, even if I was a tourist on these carriage tours or just walking around and I saw her house, it immediately stands out.
Hmm.
Immediately. And it just gives vibes of vampires or someone who doesn't like to be out in the sun. It just gives those vibes. And, it also gives the vibes of the Tartarian
Yeah.
building. And that, do you want to talk about you want to give like a quick,
Yes. So, like, Tartaria is this theory that Tartaria is a lost civilization that was pre, I think, 1800s. And
yeah,
there was a great mud flood that happened that wiped out this advanced technological society. So, we had all of these things that were able to build these ornate buildings, like you see in Charleston and that you see all over the world.
yeah,
Then they had free energy, so like you'll see spires and domes and things
hmm
like that.
the
Those are
cathodes,
like
yeah,
of Tartarian architecture. So much of it
columns,
from Charleston, and then you'll see all these buildings that were founded. They don't say
yeah,
built; they all say founded.
founded,
And then if there are construction pictures, they're suspect at that. And then they
uh-huh,
always have the sky blurred out or something.
yeah.
So it's just like,
There's no way we
any
built
of those
those.
buildings just don't add up, especially when you look at the crappy quality of stuff we're putting up today with the
Yeah.
advanced technological society. We can't build anything like things like the buildings in Charleston or the Biltmore House, which we'll come back to. But when you have done his like research on Charleston and like it's standing still in time, like what are your thoughts on that? Like what have you found?
Well, I've also found that those buildings were fought over. So whatever happened to these people during this mudslide, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. But as we all started moving into America, we started finding these buildings, and people apparently are were fighting over these buildings, like to stay in them. And I started digging down that hole and found that they're true healing buildings. And, you go around the world and they still have a lot of these places, and a lot of them are cathedrals, churches, custom homes. A lot of them are owned by the government. So, of course, we're suspect, right? But it makes sense why they wanted to move into these buildings, and the fact that they gave off free energy, the what are they called? The cathroids, the
Yeah.
spiral things at the top. They removed those in a lot of places, supposedly. I mean, there's people all over TikTok and internet finally showing pictures of how, the powers that be did everything they could to remove those. Why?
We're a
Because they wanted to pay
consumer,
for energy. Yeah.
we're a
And
consumer society.
yeah, exactly. So, it all kind of makes sense. And while we were downtown, we were just walking around, and every building we ran into was founded. And we ran into that church. I forgot exactly what the church is, but we'll put it in here. But it did have the black cathoids at the top. And that was basically for free energy. But one thing we did notice was how many times did that church burnt down and was rebuilt?
5 times since it was initially built has the church been rebuilt since like I think it was the 1600s. I will like fact check that, but
Yeah.
we did a little video on it, but I think it was like the 1600s. No, well, we weren't here in the 1600s, were we?
Well, that's the history that they tell us. We really don't know. But
Shopping
we
world
have
of
buildings.
and I do know my facts. So we were not in Charleston then, but since the church was built, apparently it has burned down 5 times. Which is like weird because everything around it still looks the exact same. Like it doesn't look like anything in that area burnt down. Like they all look
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, everything downtown looks the exact same
even
back like it did back then.
even the lanterns are still like gaslit
The
lanterns.
gas lamps, they make them look like the gas lanterns still. Yeah. It's very interesting. And, as we were walking around, people kept coming up to us. What are you guys talking about? What are you guys talking about? Well, you're doing a podcast? I want to be your first, you know, uh, live viewer, or whatever you call it. And,
I know it's a shout out. If you made it to our first podcast and you saw us on the streets, you heard it here first. Thanks
yeah,
for
so
being here.
thank you. Thanks for the support. Yeah. It really humbles us, and makes us realize, like, maybe this is our journey, because it's not easy to be on camera, especially in front of everybody when they're walking around downtown and stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought it was kind of interesting how we decided to do vampires for our first episode, because we decided we were going to go out to eat downtown, right? Because Charleston has great restaurants, fantastic restaurants, and we wanted to try a new one. So we made a reservation at Lagami, and it was delicious. We had the best table upstairs, on the porch overlooking, you know, downtown, and our waiter gave us such vampire vibes. I immediately hit Carlyle on the leg underneath the table and said, "Wait a minute, what is going on?" But things like this happen to us. We start talking about things, and then it just appears for us. I mean, it's crazy. So we're sitting here at dinner, and he's this handsome young guy. And the way he's just using his hands, you know how, like, the vampires like to use their hands to, like, get you distracted and lure you in, and they're always good looking. And so he definitely gave us the vibe. So you and I start whispering to each other, and he leaves and comes back. Sure as shit, he heard us. He heard us somehow, because immediately things start going wrong. And we could not make this up. I mean, we had drinks flying off the table out of nowhere. We had flower pots when we got home flying off the tables. That table's never flipped over before or tipped over before. And the next day, I remember texting you, and I was like, I am just so exhausted. Like, I felt like every bit of energy had been completely taken out of me. All I could do was lay on that couch and sleep the whole entire afternoon that Sunday. And you even started feeling really tired as well, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. We were supposed to meet and record on Monday, and I was like, I do not feel well. I need to rest. John slept. I mean, John's been sick, but he slept. Like, I drove home and he slept the whole ride home. And then when we got home, I was like, I am done. I am so out. But it's so funny. Like, after the planter fell over in the house, it literally sounded like they have a giant fish tank, and it sounded like the giant fish tank crashed to the earth.
Yeah.
So they went to bed, and I came downstairs to wash my face in the bathroom. And it's like right by the French doors, and they're glass. And I'm like washing my face, and I'm like just staring at the doors outside, because I'm like afraid that if I turn around, I'm gonna turn back around and there's gonna pop up a vampire.
Like
Uh,
you did when you were at the bathroom at the restaurant. I forgot about that part.
Oh my gosh, when I ran into him at the bathroom, and then like the bachelorette party was in the bathroom, and then they all left, and then I was locked in the stall, and I was like, oh gosh, no. And we mean all of this with like the highest respect. If y'all are
Yeah.
vampires, you look excellent, you're doing the right thing. I'm not sure what you're doing, but I find you very interesting. I don't want to be a victim. I would like to like be a friend, not a familiar either, just like very interested and curious about what's going on in the vampire world. And then you'll see TikToks randomly, people will be like, I ran into this vampire in New Orleans, and like vampires are real, and people will post these videos like super scared. And I think they talk a lot about like the energy vampires, is
Yes.
but apparently the blood keeps them young. That's how they're staying young. But then Charleston ties to my favorite place, and it's a place that you've been with our family several times, which is the Biltmore house.
Yeah.
And so Biltmore can tie in several ways. First off, you got Tartarian architecture, if I have ever seen it. Like,
Yep.
George Vanderbilt build what was supposed to be a bachelor pad in the middle of the mountains of North Carolina, where that's where my people are from. It's a hard area to live in, and it's a hard area to survive. So like, and I can't imagine in that time that there was literally any prospects that were like worthwhile. So why does this guy want to be so remote? Is it because he's hunting, like has these elite parties and they have
Hunting party.
grounds, or they like is it a cult, secret society, and they
Sure.
were sacrificing people out there? Like who needs 100 bedrooms? Who needs, or not 100, but like 100 rooms in the whole house or whatever, but an astronomical number
Yeah.
of bedrooms.
Indoor pool? That was unheard of back then.
And then he had plumbing, indoor plumbing and electricity like way before it was mainstream, like way before it was mainstream. And so I'm like looking into theories about the Biltmore house because I'm like, oh, I'd love to talk about the Biltmore house on our podcast. Like there's so many, I'm so intrigued. I've been there like 100 times in my life. It just something never sat right with me. And then Chat GPT's like, well, there's these rumors that George Vanderbilt was a vampire. And I'm like, all roads lead to vampires.
Apparently, yeah. But it makes sense. Maybe he's always been there. Like Patricia coming back to Charleston. Maybe he's always been there, and they had to have a story to cover it up with
Yeah.
all these fake pictures and images.
And then us, the public, are upkeeping their homes. Well, I don't know about Patricia's. Maybe hers is privately,
Yeah,
but for a while
yeah,
it was a library and it was kept
right.
by the state. So
Yeah,
at one point it was maintained by the state. Biltmore House is funded and maintained by us visiting, and it's kept in like perfect condition.
it
Like
really is.
if you were a vampire, also perfect way to keep your pad looking fresh because like the doors close at night and then you got your home back. And
It's interesting. I was reading about how the rich would, you know, how we always would have farmland. Well, you know how the Biltmore has just like the entire garden area in the front. So I apparently was learning about how the wealthy back then, it was a sign that you were wealthy if you didn't have farmland and could just use your land as just for flowers and just for looks, I guess we should say. But how do you think these vampires move around Charleston and Asheville? Do you think they're tunnels underneath?
well, it's been, I don't know about Charleston. You might know more about Charleston, but I know that there are vast tunnel systems from Biltmore that go into Asheville, and they say that there are tunnel systems throughout the mountains that move that way. But like if they can move during the day, all they need is shade, so they just need to know
True.
the right time to move around. But
Yeah.
what wonderful places to live where it's kind of nostalgic to
Yeah.
never
I
really.
would live there if I was a vampire. More so than Charleston.
I mean, I have like, I want to go into the Biltmore house at night so bad. And now I really do. I need to be like Carlyle, Olive, vampire hunter out here at the Biltmore. George, are you with us?
Oh, wait a minute. Speaking about Vanderbilts, isn't Anderson Cooper a true Vanderbilt?
His family is related, I believe, to
That's
the.
right.
Yes. So he is, and like he's aging like fine wine. His bestie
Yep.
Andy Cohen over there on the
Andy,
network. It's funny they say all roads lead to Bravo. Never did I think that I would be talking about the Biltmore House and Bravo in the
me
same
either.
breath.
Or even vampires, like the whole thing. But it's crazy. Once we go down that rabbit hole, they all start to kind of link to each other.
I know, like I did not think Tartaria would link to vampires to all of this, but we need some kind of vampire expert on our show. Or if you've had a crazy experience with a vampire in Charleston, like hit us up. Or a
Please.
vampire just in general. We want to hear your stories. If you're an expert, we'd like to hear your stories. We are so curious in alternate theories. I instead of
Yeah.
conspiracy theories, they're alternate theories. We have always liked to think and dive deep. Like my favorite show growing up was Unsolved Mysteries, CSI, and Criminal Minds, and
Yeah.
like travel shows.
Yeah. I've always liked the travel show, HGTV, but I've always loved X Files. Never could understand why. Like, we didn't have cable or anything like that when I grew up in Marion in the countryside, but I sound like the vampire from our dinner the other night. I grew up in the beautiful countryside of Atlanta. I go, what? But Yeah, I mean, I always thought X-Files were so interesting, and now people will do clips on the internet, and a lot of the stuff they were talking about is actually true. But, we've always questioned things since we were little, and I think, we're one of the few that were chosen to kinda wake up a little bit before everybody else and kinda help other people see this because you and I both, like, I started during 2020 really digging into this stuff. And I was on Telegram and I started listening to Nino, who was like a fighter or something. Like, I'd never heard of him before, but I liked him. And for whatever reason, I believed him. And he would help me just start questioning things. And then I would start researching on my own. And then I found Korean Ramon up in Canada. But I would try to talk to these people about it because you get angry at first about it because you realize we've been lied to all of our lives. And so you get angry at first, you get mad and frustrated, and you just want to tell everybody like, "Hey, this is going on. Like, let's deal with it. Like, let's change it." And they think we're the crazy ones, and it's frustrating. And it took me probably 2 years to finally say, you know what, I'm gonna just sit back, and everybody will find out on their own time. People will start questioning on their own time and here we are, like, what, 5 years later, and a lot of people are starting to come back and say, "Well, you talked about this a couple years ago. Can you tell me more?" Or, just more people know what you're talking about, where before people thought you and I were in that, when we were talking about stuff like this. It's funny, like, even the angel numbers, I remember during COVID, like, I deal with a lot of numbers, and I kept seeing 888, 333, and, I was like, "Well, what in the world? Why is that happening?" And I looked it up, and that's when I learned that they're called angel numbers, and they have all these meanings, and then over the years, you and I start talking about it, and, now we realize that they're just a guide for us. They're just a I don't know, you could say it's your angels, your guardian angels, whoever, but it's basically like you're in the right direction. Keep doing what you're doing. Like you and I kept seeing 222, and that meant you're in the right direction, 555, big change is coming. And you and I kept seeing that all the time. So they definitely work. I mean, for whatever reason, it's crazy to me.
I know, just to like kind of summarize like where we are at in the journey is like we just want to have some fun and share our thoughts with the world and laugh along the way. We're not here to, like offend anybody or shake things up, but like it's just fun to think about it. I want everyone to just like question everything, think
Question.
critically, just use your brain to think about what you want. Like, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody, just,
Yeah.
think
Follow
away.
your instinct. Yeah.
And your instincts are usually right. And just know that not everything that we're taught is true. History is not real. And honestly, they say truth is crazier than fiction. And I totally believe.
Yep.
I've worked in some
100%.
weird worlds over the years and I've seen like some crazy things. And you and I have been on journeys and I went through my journey with alcoholism and like awakening after that. And just like this journey of like becoming yourself and realizing just how much like society, they just want to keep us distracted. But then COVID came around and that's when everybody started waking up. And I'm so
They're
grateful
forced to. Yep.
included. I've always been awake, but it gave me like even more of a launching pad to like really look into like these things that I've heard and I've thought about. And now it's like you go to parties and people like come up to me and they like want to talk about conspiracy theories. And I'm like, it's not so much of like, well, there's that crazy girl talking about cloud seeding. It's, oh my God, did you see the clouds today?
Did you see what happened in Texas? Did you see
Yeah.
what happened
It
in,
passed.
North Carolina?
I know. So I'm so excited. I'm going to Biltmore House on Monday, and then we're going to get together after that, and we're going to talk about what I found. And while I'm there, they're doing an exhibit for ancient Egypt. So we're going to study up on ancient Egypt, and maybe we'll segue into some aliens next week.
Oh, we have to. Yes.
Aliens, bloodlines, and maybe circle back on some different Bravo things. Like, do you have to sign a soul contract to become like to become like really famous on Bravo? Like, what is the situation? So this has been really fun. I think this is a good first episode. Sorry that we don't have professional microphones, cameras, or lighting. We're working towards it.
We'll get there.
Be patient with us. We hope
Hang
that
with
you just
laugh with us.
yeah, we hope that you will hang out with us next week and, like, bless your heart for being here. We're so excited.
Until next time.